Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really thought-provoking stack of sources. We've got excerpts from Schopenhauer to AI, Modeling Emotions and Non-Rational Impulses by Gerardo and Giovanni Alvani from Sophimatics.
hmm
And our mission really is to explore how artificial intelligence is trying to move beyond just pure logic, trying to grasp something as complex, as human, as emotion,
Yeah.
and what that means for its future and for us.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these, well, centuries-old philosophical ideas are directly influencing cutting-edge AI. It really throws into sharp relief both the incredible progress, but also the profound challenges.
Yeah, challenges in how we even define intelligence, let alone create it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dive in then. Our journey starts with maybe a surprising figure, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, back in the 19th century. What did he actually say that's so critical for AI people today?
Well, for so long, we've sort of thought of intelligence as purely rational,
Yeah.
logic rules. But Schopenhauer kind of flipped that.
Right.
He argued that our deepest drives, what he called the will, are fundamentally non-rational. They're driven by these powerful emotions, impulses,
The messy stuff.
the messy stuff. Exactly. And now AI researchers are realizing, wait a minute, we can't build truly human-like intelligence if we ignore that core. The goal now is really to recreate those emotional dynamics that are so fundamental to us.
So it's not just about logic gates and algorithms anymore. AI is trying to get a handle on the gut feeling.
Precisely. That's a good way to put it. This shift means AI is now actively trying to build systems that understand the affective side, the emotional side of intelligent behavior.
Okay.
The aim is to make them operate with, greater contextual sensitivity and to make interactions feel more natural, more intuitive.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. If AI is trying to bring emotions into the picture, what does that actually, look like? How do engineers actually build that?
Right, so this brings us straight to the field of affective computing.
Effective computing. Oh,
Yeah. This is where AI systems are explicitly programmed to recognize, interpret, and importantly, simulate emotional responses.
so like those chatbots that sometimes seem weirdly empathetic.
Exactly. Those or user interfaces that maybe adapt based on whether they sense you're frustrated or happy.
Okay.
These advancements are fundamentally redefining how we interact with computers.
That sounds incredibly powerful, potentially really useful. Imagine a system that genuinely gets your mood.
Yeah.
But it also brings up a huge question, doesn't it? Are these systems actually feeling anything, or are they just getting incredibly good at acting? Just very convincing mimics.
That is the million-dollar question, absolutely central to this whole discussion. People have been asking, are these systems just mimicking human emotions, or could these abilities eventually lead to some kind of intrinsic synthetic affectivity, actual artificial feeling? And there are real concerns about authenticity. If we start mistaking a very clever mimic for genuine emotion, well, what does that do to us? What are the ethics of forming attachments to systems that don't truly feel?
Yeah, that's unsettling. So, okay, how do they engineer this emotional intelligence? Is there a particular technical strategy?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
A pretty sophisticated approach involves what we call hybrid AI systems.
hybrid. Okay.
Yeah, think of it like teaching a kid both the explicit rules, like say please and thank you, and how to intuitively read social cues, like body language.
Oh, okay. The two layers.
Kind of. These systems combine symbolic reasoning, that's like the rule book, handling explicit labels for emotions, categorizing feelings with neural networks.
Right, the learning part.
Exactly. Neural networks are the intuitive learners. They could adapt and generalize patterns from huge amounts of data.
So it's like giving AI both a logical brain and something more akin to, well, an emotional intuition, trying to capture that complex interplay.
That's the idea. It allows for a more nuanced representation of emotion. And this lines up pretty well with what cognitive science tells us, that complex human behaviors, especially our emotional responses, need multiple layers of processing.
Makes sense.
But the challenge, the really big challenge, is still whether these hybrid systems can truly replicate the dynamic, often messy, back and forth between reason and emotion that just is human thinking.
Yeah, even with these sophisticated systems, modeling human emotions still sounds incredibly difficult, like trying to nail jelly to a wall. What are the really, really tough nuts to crack here?
Oh, there are several big ones. First, just capturing the sheer dynamism of emotions,
Mhm.
how they shift and change, sometimes contradicting each other.
Right, like feeling happy and sad at the same time.
Exactly. Schopenhauer really emphasized this fluidity. Cognitive science backs it up. Think how fast joy can turn into frustration, or fear gives way to relief. Computational models use feedback loops and things, but they still struggle to truly emulate that richness, that variability.
Okay, dynamism. What else?
Second, integrating intentionality. This is a key philosophical idea. Brentano talked about it a lot. It basically means our emotions are always about something.
Directed at something.
Yes, you're afraid of the dark or joyful about getting good news. Emotions aren't just free-floating internal states. They have an object. And AI needs an architecture that can actually account for this aboutness, which is a fundamental shift.
Because it needs context, meaning.
Which leads straight to the third challenge, metasemantic alignment. That's a bit of a mouthful, I know.
Yeah.
But it's really about meaning. Do the AI's internal data patterns for joy actually mean the same thing as the human subjective experience of joy? Current models often just manipulate data symbols. Moving beyond that to genuinely meaningful emotional representation is hard. Systems need dynamic ways to adjust based on the situation, the context.
Okay, so dynamism, intentionality, meaningful representation. What's the final hurdle?
What's the biggest one? The real elephant in the room.
Yeah.
The subjective first-person quality of emotional experience. What it's like to feel angry or sad.
What?
Exactly. Philosophical critics consistently point out that even functionally impressive systems are still just simulations. They lack that deep, subjective, what it feels like aspect. That's what some call the hard problem of emotions in AI, echoing the hard problem of consciousness itself. Can simulation ever be the real thing?
Those are some seriously deep challenges. Formidable. But okay, despite all that, what are the cutting-edge advancements? What's happening now to try and bridge these gaps?
Well, recent work in AI cognitive architectures is getting more sophisticated. They're incorporating modules for things like perspective taking, trying to understand another's viewpoint, anticipating outcomes, and dynamically evaluating situations.
So trying to mimic how our emotions guide our goals.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Aligning the system's emotional orientation with shifting goals, making it seem more purposeful, more human-like in its responses.
And are they moving beyond just identifying emotions? Are AIs learning things we might call psychological skills?
Yes. Absolutely. Effective computing isn't just about recognition anymore. It's advancing the design of systems with competencies like empathy, adaptability, even self-regulation.
Empathy in AI, how does that work? And is it real?
Well, real is the question. But the aim is for AI agents to build trust, build rapport by estimating what a user might need or feel and responding, sympathetically. Think customer service bots or maybe even AI companions in therapy.
Okay, I can see the value, but also the potential pitfalls.
Definitely. If an AI gets too good at mimicking empathy, could it become manipulative? Could users form unhealthy attachments to something that isn't actually feeling anything back? Big ethical questions there.
It's huge. And you mentioned self-regulation. How does an AI self-regulate its emotions?
Through feedback mechanisms, essentially.
Yeah.
The system adjusts its internal emotional state representation based on how interactions go. If a certain emotional response leads to a bad outcome, it learns to adjust. This makes the system more stable, more robust, especially in, say, high-stakes situations.
Interesting. So it learns emotional control in a way.
In a computational way, yes. Whether it approximates the nuanced human process is, again, a deep philosophical question. And there's also promising work on intelligent agent ensembles. Ensembles? Like AI teams? Sort of. Imagine multiple AI agents, maybe each with slightly different emotional programming or skills, collaborating to tackle complex problems, bringing social and emotional dimensions into the decision-making.
Wow. Okay, so summing this part up, it sounds like AI can simulate emotions, sometimes incredibly well, getting better all the time with things like empathy and self-regulation. But there's still this fundamental gap, this chasm, when it comes to the actual subjective experience that Schopenhauer was so focused on.
Precisely. That's what the analyses from cognitive science and philosophy keep highlighting. The simulations can be functionally impressive. They can do things that look like emotional behavior, but they often fail to reproduce that subjective depth.
Right.
It often comes down to a focus on mechanism, on function, over the actual phenomenology, the lived experience. It's like building that perfect replica body, but there's no ghost in the machine, so to speak.
So the way forward isn't just better code or faster processors. It needs something more.
Absolutely. It really underscores the critical importance of interdisciplinary approaches. You can't solve this just from an engineering perspective.
Yeah.
You need philosophy, psychology, cognitive science, all integrated with the technical side.
And that's where fields like Sophimatics come in.
Exactly. They're trying to create these frameworks that deliberately weave in ethics, phenomenology, the study of experience and cognitive science, into the AI design process. The hope is to align AI's computational power with the context, the ethics, the humanity of emotion.
So this deep dive has really taken us on quite a journey, from 19th century philosophy right up to the absolute cutting edge of AI algorithms.
Hmm.
It's clearly not just about building smarter machines anymore. It feels like it's pushing us to understand ourselves better, to really grapple with what it even means to feel.
It really is. And Schopenhauer's ideas, his focus on the non-rational, on the will, on emotion, they remain incredibly relevant. They give us a vital lens for assessing both the potential and, maybe more importantly, the limitations of what effective computing is doing right now.
Yeah.
Integrating that kind of deep philosophical analysis with the technical work seems absolutely key if we want to design AI that genuinely reflects the true richness, the complexity of human emotions, rather than just, a clever facade.
So thinking about you, the listener, what does it mean for you if AI can detect your mood, respond with apparent empathy, maybe even regulate its own emotional state? As these systems get woven ever deeper into our lives, what new questions does that raise?
Yeah, questions about consciousness, about connection, about what makes us human.
Definitely something to ponder until our next deep dive.